what's up? My name is John Bonjour. I'm a comic artist and film enthusiast. I have not drawn any art for this. I will be drawing art for Final Destination Bloodlines, but I would like to talk about the Final Destination movies because I love them so much. So I'm going to be ranking them and having a little chat about each one. Okay, so we have a new Final Destination movie coming out, which is crazy. I honestly thought that 5 was going to be the last one, because it was for like over a decade, I'm pretty sure. Point being, Final Destination Bloodlines is out in theaters within the next couple of weeks, depending on when this video comes out. And I just want to talk about Final Destination because in preparation for that, I've been watching the other movies again because I love them. I have this thing, and I want to see, I'd love to know, let me know in the comments if this also happens to you, where every time I watch one of the Final Destination movies, it's like I have this little curse where I have to watch the rest of them within the next week or so, and it usually ends up being pretty much one day of just binge watching the Final Destination movies because they're so fun and also extremely bingeable. This is maybe the most bingeable franchise I've ever seen because most of the movies kind of feel like an episode of a TV show. Like if you watch all of the Final Destination movies together, all 5 of them so far, we'll see about Bloodlines, it kind of feels like a quick little season of television. It feels like it's like an HBO show where each episode is just like getting you to the point. And then 5, obviously, spoilers for the Final Destination movies if you haven't seen them. Final Destination 5 ends with the start of Final Destination 1. So it's this fun, it's this full circle thing that I honestly thought was a really good end for the series. So I'll be interested to see, again, where Bloodlines goes, how it contributes, interacts with those things. I don't know. Could also be completely separate. It could be more of just like a spin-off side sequel a la The Spiral or whatever. I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. I love the Final Destination movies and they're very fun. Some of them are way better than others. So I'm gonna go bottom to top. I think the worst, number 5 on the list, the worst Final Destination movie is unfortunately Final Destination 4, The Final Destination. So a Final Destination movie, to me, so many words, Final Destination. A Final Destination movie, to me, has to have a certain set of things. There has to be, obviously, some sort of big accident, some sort of big natural disaster that leads to the premonition that takes them on this journey. There has to be rules. It has to try to test the franchise. It has to try to test the rules in ways that other movies haven't before, because that's what makes these interesting. There is an element of inevitability in these films that I think is very fun, but also only fun if you're trying to fight it and it still doesn't work. That's the problem, the main problem. There's a lot of problems. That's the main problem with The Final Destination, number 4. It doesn't test the franchise in any meaningful way. It just kind of goes, I don't know, maybe if we skip somebody, they'll be saved. And it's like, yeah, we did that in 1 and it didn't work. And I get that in fiction, it's like you wouldn't know these people, but that's not the point. Like you're not thinking about this from a fiction perspective. You're watching these movies to test the rules of the franchise. And that doesn't test them because we've already seen that in 1, 2, and 3. We've seen somebody get skipped and death comes back for them. Also, the other kind of main problem with that, the natural disasters in Final Destination movies, the disasters, the opening, inciting incident, accident, almost never feels like death is actually at play. It feels like a thing that was going to happen either way. Final Destination 1, there's the plane crash, which is just like, it's perfect. It's a perfect starter for the franchise. It's this feeling we've all had, or at least I've had. If you have anxiety, it's a feeling you've had, I guess is what I'm saying. You get on a plane and you're like, this could be it. This could be how I die. And all the little things where you're like, oh, my seat's a little wobbly. I don't know. Maybe that's how I die. Like there's all these feelings that you have. Final Destination 1 plays on that in some really cool ways. And that is a good accident because it feels like a thing that could happen. 2, pile up on the highway. Happens all the time. Does it always happen with a big log going through a guy? No, but it happens all the time. It's a thing that feels reasonable. Number 3 has a roller coaster accident, which is also a thing that I fear because roller coasters are designed to make you feel like you're gonna die, and I don't like that, and I don't think people should like that. And then 5 also has like a bridge collapse, a thing that happens, a thing that Mothman watches. It's also this very scary feeling. It's this thing where you're like, yeah, the train of commerce would make it make sense that you'd want to get that fixed while people are driving through it. So yeah, it makes sense that they'd be weakening the structure. It collapses. 4 is the only outlier. And I guess I'm going to have a lot more to say about 4 probably than the other 3, or the other 4. I'm going to have a lot to say about number 4 more than the other 4. The Final Destination opens with a racing accident, which is already not something that people think about very much in terms of killing people outside of the race. But also, it starts with the Rube Goldberg thing. It starts with Death interacting with the objects, interacting with the world in a way that makes me be like, are you punishing someone in the race? I don't understand, because it's the other 4 have felt natural. They feel like things that would normally happen. This, you're getting things that are like, Death is knocking over bottles. It's like moving things around, which is not how that works in these movies. The rules of the universe are that Death has a natural order, and when that natural order is up, Death comes for the people that mess it up. And that is what it is. Like, that's what the franchise has been, and that's what makes sense. That's what makes it interesting. If Death is also going out and constructing these elaborate deaths and then punishing people for avoiding these elaborate deaths, it goes from being a natural, if not antagonistic force, and it becomes a straight up villain because it's just being a dick. Also, it doesn't look very good. It's horribly shot. Like, it's got that way oversaturated early 2000s thing that is just disgusting. And also, it's trying to do all the CGI kills, which means that anytime the CGI has to be on screen, the saturation is pulled way down so that they don't have to try to match it. So it's inconsistent. It doesn't look good. There's kills that don't pay off. It's easily the most frustrating watch because it is firing on none of the cylinders that it could be. Coming in at number 4 is number 2. Coming in at number 4 is Final Destination 2. This is the point in the franchise where we start being like, okay, these are just really fun to watch. They're just entertaining movies. That said, Final Destination 1, and I'll get to this later, has a certain gravitas to it, has a certain genuine feeling to it that the rest of the franchise doesn't really have. Final Destination 3 leans into the literal carnival ride of death. This is kind of in the middle. This is kind of the turning point for the franchise. It still holds on to some of the reality and grim sadness of the first one while also trying to have fun. It's like trying to have its cake and eat it too. And it doesn't quite work. It's in the context of the franchise. As a movie itself, it's fine. Like, it's fun enough. It's not as engaging as the original, and it's not as fun as 3. So it just ends up kind of sitting in this middle ground where it's like some of the kills are good, the opening is really good, that car pileup is solid, but it also is trying to be a little bit too much. It tries too many things. They haven't nailed down how to build that tension, how to create that tone in an efficient and strong way. It also has this thing where they're like, maybe their way of testing the rules is probably the weakest in this, because they're like, maybe what we're missing is that there's a baby. Maybe there's a baby and that changes it. And it's like, in what way does that change? Like, how does that change it? I don't understand. I've never understood what their thought was with the whole new life thing in this one. If you made a baby post the deaths that were supposed to occur, maybe that's something. If you were able to stay alive for 9 months and have a baby, I don't know. At least there's an argument for that. But the idea of a baby that was supposed to be in the accident being born is like, that's not new life. That's just another thing that Death is going to have to go after. I don't know what the age limit on Death going for children is. I guess it's pretty low. I guess it's probably extremely, that's a sad thought. Point being, that has never made a lot of sense to me, the whole new life thing. That said, the car pileup is great. There's some really fun kills. I always forget that the ladder through the eyes in this one, that's a great little bit. And that's what I mean. That is kind of pointing toward the future of the franchise, where things like the ambulance at the end are kind of pointing back and trying to be like, oh, but really, we're just like the ripple effects of the original Death, where it's like, eventually the franchise will go on to understand that Death is just coming for everybody all the time. It's just really horny for getting people. But at this point in the franchise, they're still trying to make sense of it in connection to the first movie, which makes sense as a sequel. For those reasons, it just ends up being not my favorite. Coming in at number 3 is number 1. The original Final Destination is my third favorite movie because it's solid. It sets the tone. It does a good job of starting a franchise. It has a good idea, and it's probably more engaging than the other two because it is, like I said before, it has this reality. It has the genuineness to it. They're very sad about their friends. I shouldn't laugh. That's horrible. They're very sad about the passing of their friends. And that's a thing that this movie really leans into in a way that the rest of the franchise tends not to. A lot of the other movies kind of avoid the feeling of like, oh yeah, death is also sad as much as it is scary. This is a movie that struggles with that, and I think it does a very good job struggling with that most of the time, some of the time. And it's interesting to see the way that this approaches the deaths, the way that it approaches the accidents. They feel a little bit more weirdly a little bit more caused in a way that some of the other accidents don't necessarily feel. Like this is the only movie where you genuinely see a little shimmer of death walking around and doing stuff. It's also, there's so much water in this one. It's just Water City, and that's fun. I don't know why that's fun. It just is fun. The reason that this doesn't land at the top spot or in the top 2 for me is that it isn't as fun as the other ones. It's not, the kills aren't as interesting because they just haven't heightened to that point yet. It spends a lot of time trying to figure things out that don't really matter. It spends a lot of time trying to make you care about what order people died in, which you kind of do, but there really is a point where you're like, I don't remember who Stacy was. I just don't. Just get to the next part of the movie that we're here for. And also there's like a kind of romance that kind of works, sort of doesn't. I think the problem is that it hasn't figured out exactly what this franchise needs to be yet. Brings me to my number 2, which is number 3, the movie that I think really locks in what the franchise is supposed to be. This is the movie with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which I do not think is a coincidence. I think part of the reason that this movie is so good is because she is able to pull off the sadness of the first movie and also the fun, scary, schlocky horror of the other movies. If 2 is the bridge between the two, this is the anchoring point on the other side. This is the movie that I think really locks in, okay, here's some things we need to have. It needs to be funny. It needs to be fun. It needs to be a little sad. It needs to be way more mean-spirited than we've been in the past. It leans back into the high school element, which I think is very fun. There is something about these self-absorbed teens going through this, trying to figure this out, Scooby-Doo solve this mystery, that is way more fun than just like a mom and her kid and some adults. Like that is way less engaging because they've lived so much life. There is something intrinsically interesting to, we were just about to start our lives and now they're ending, and how do we stop that? Not to mention that they do something very interesting in this movie that none of the other movies have done. Very often in these, whoever had the premonition will also get flashes of how other people are going to die just so that they can kind of be there. I guess it's really more just a way for them to be involved in the story, but it's keeping them up to date with what's happening. This is the first movie that I think does the really cool idea of like, here's all your clues, but they're really wicked vague, so good luck. And it's not somebody specifically having a vision like 4 where there's these horrible CGI visions. It's not one of those where it's like, oh, I saw a chain and a burning cross. Which one of those could it be? Is it this guy? Is it this girl? Is it the extremely wicked racist guy? Who's to say? Some of the things are red herrings, some of them are not. It's very fun, and that's a fun idea. All of the things that work about the franchise work quite well in 3, and that brings me to my number 1, which is Final Destination 5, Final Destination, if you will. That is the movie that finally clicks all the way in the franchise and just nails it. Like, this is the movie that, for me anyway, is the most fun in terms of kills, in terms of just like mean-spiritedness, in terms of creativity. It's a thing that plays on fears that you already have. The bridge is a phenomenal opener. The first time I saw it, I was like, it's all right. It's okay. It's not as gory as the other ones. And I realized that now that is fully not the point. A, it is extremely gory, and B, it's really scary. Like, that is a fear feeling that I feel instead of just like an entertainment, ooh, that was gory, I gotta look away kind of feeling. Ironically, it's not teens, it's people at an office, which also, they do a good job of kind of making it feel like these people are stuck in this place. And maybe that's more what it is that you're stuck in Arrested Development, and eventually you're about to get out. High school, you're leaving high school, this place that you've been for 4 years and you're just so tired of, or it has been your entire life. The Office is kind of the same way. There's your main character who's like going to Paris, he's got his whole thing going, and you kind of have that like, our lives were about to start. I was about to go do this thing maybe, or I was stuck in this place and I couldn't get out, and now I'm being punished for nothing. Both of those are very interesting. Like I said, the kills are just phenomenal. Final Destination 5 is just such a wicked entertaining movie. The third act is easily the best. It still plays with death while also being kind of a slasher man versus man kind of thing, and that's really fun in this universe, a thing we haven't really played with. Most importantly though, that twist ending of 5, where you realize that this was actually all building up to the flight to Paris that they've been talking about for so long, was actually the flight 180 to Paris. from the beginning of the first movie. Beautiful. It's just spectacular. Also, Tony Todd, I haven't mentioned him from any of these movies. Tony Todd is just wonderful in every single one of these. I love him so much. Point being, Final Destination 5 ends in the most satisfying way. It's this very fun, full circle thing, a unique thing for the franchise, and I love it. It's my favorite Final Destination movie, and I really hope, as we get toward Bloodlines, I really hope that it doesn't get worse, because the viewing of 1 through 5 is such an entertaining, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we'll see. Maybe it's 6. I mean, who knows? Bloodlines could be my favorite, but it would be a shame if 6 is like on par with 4, and then we have to just kind of be like, also that one. This is a very fun franchise. I'm excited for Bloodlines. I will be reviewing Bloodlines, but what do you think of the Final Destination? Give me your ranking in the comments. I would love to hear how you put each movie. Thank you so much for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on movies, comics, TV shows, horrifying accidents, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like me to review next, or do none of those things because I am not your dad. 3 is kind of the first example. Number 3 wow, holy shit.